Welcome to CreepyTalks, where hidden fears come alive through chilling horror tales. Dare to listen as every story pulls you deeper into the darkness. Story 1. The Last Customer at Starbucks. 2:47 a.m. At 2:47 a.m., Starbucks is not supposed to feel alive, but that night, it was breathing. The automatic doors slid shut behind me with a soft hiss, locking the outside world away. Rain hammered the glass windows like desperate fingers trying to get in. The streetlights outside flickered, their yellow glow trembling across the empty parking lot. I checked my phone. 2:47 a.m. No signal. Battery 11%. Great. I was supposed to close the store at 3 a.m., just 13 minutes left. 13 minutes that would stretch into something I would never forget. The store was empty. Too empty. Every chair was stacked. The pastry case was dark. Only the espresso machine hummed softly, like it was alive and waiting. The smell of burnt coffee beans mixed with something else. Something metallic. I told myself it was just exhaustion. I'd been working night shifts for 6 months. You start seeing things when your sleep schedule is destroyed. Shadows move, sounds linger, your brain plays tricks. That's what I kept telling myself. Then the bell rang. Ding! I froze. My heart skipped so hard it physically hurt. "No," I whispered. "We're closed." But the clock said otherwise. 2:48 a.m. I turned slowly toward the entrance. A man stood just inside the door. I didn't hear the door open. He was tall, unnaturally tall, his head nearly brushing the menu board. He wore a long black coat soaked from the rain, dripping water onto the floor. His hair clung to his face, hiding his eyes. He didn't move. "Sir," I said, forcing my customer service voice, "we're closing soon." Silence. Then he lifted his head. I wish he hadn't. His eyes were wrong. Too dark. Too deep. Like empty cups that had never held coffee or anything human. "I'll have," he said slowly, voice rough like gravel dragged across concrete. "A black coffee." My fingers tightened around the counter. "Sure," I said. "That'll be—" "I want it," he interrupted, stepping closer. "The way you drink it." That sent a chill through me. "I don't—" "You do," he said. "Every night, after closing, when you're alone." My stomach dropped. How did he know that? I laughed nervously. "That's not funny." He smiled. He had too many teeth. "Funny isn't what this place is anymore," he whispered. The lights flickered. Once. Twice. The espresso machine screamed to life by itself. I stepped back. "Sir," I said louder now, "I'm calling security." I reached for the phone. The line was dead. The man tilted his head, listening, like he could hear my thoughts scraping against my skull. "You shouldn't have stayed late," he said. "This store remembers people." "What does that even mean?" I snapped, fear turning into anger. He pointed behind me. Slowly, painfully, I turned. Behind the counter, the reflection in the dark espresso machine glass wasn't mine. It was me, but wrong. My reflection was smiling. I wasn't. "Do you know," the man said softly, "how many people disappeared on night shifts like yours?" The smell of metal grew stronger. Blood. I spun back toward him. "Get out," I shouted. "Now!" He didn't move. Instead, he reached into his coat and pulled out a Starbucks receipt. Old, stained, dated 1998. "I was the last customer once too," he said. The lights went out. Total darkness. I screamed. Something grabbed my wrist. Ice cold, fingers digging deep, like they knew the shape of my bones. I fought, kicking, thrashing. Then, the emergency lights flickered on. The store was empty. No man, no coat, no wet footprints. Just the receipt, lying on the counter. My wrist burned. Red fingerprints bloomed on my skin, not human hands. The clock blinked. 3 a.m. Closing time. I quit the next morning. 3 months later, the store shut down permanently. They said it was because of structural issues. But locals know better. Because if you stand outside that Starbucks at exactly 2:47 a.m., you can still hear the espresso machine start by itself. And sometimes the bell rings. Ding. Story 2. The Starbucks that wasn't on the map. The first strange thing was that the Starbucks didn't exist online. No Google Maps listing, no reviews, no store number. Yet there it was, glowing green and white at the edge of an empty service road, like it had been waiting only for me. It was 1:36 a.m. when my car broke down. The engine died with a violent shudder, headlights flickering once before plunging the road into near darkness. Rain misted the windshield. My phone showed no service. That was when I saw the light. A Starbucks logo, barely visible through the fog, about 100 meters away. I remember thinking, that's impossible. This stretch of road was abandoned. No rest stops, no cafes, just warehouses and fields. But my legs were already moving. The air felt heavier with every step, like walking underwater. The closer I got, the quieter everything became. No cars, no insects. Even the rain seemed to stop falling once it crossed the parking lot. The doors slid open. Warm air rushed over me, thick with the smell of coffee. And something old, something dusty. The store was spotless, too clean. Every table was perfectly aligned, every chair pushed in. The pastry case was full. Muffins, croissants, cookies, all looking unnaturally fresh. Behind the counter stood a single barista. She didn't look up. "Hello," I said. Nothing. She wore a standard Starbucks uniform, but it looked outdated. The logo style was wrong, older, like something from decades ago. I stepped closer. Her name tag read, Emily. "I just need a phone," I said. "My car broke down." She finally looked up. Her eyes were bloodshot, rimmed with dark purple shadows like she hadn't slept in years. Her smile was frozen, practiced, stretched too wide. "We're open all night," she said. Her voice was flat, empty. "That's great," I replied. Would you like to order first?" she interrupted. I hesitated. Just a latte." "What size?" "Medium." She nodded slowly, typing on the register. The screen flickered. For a moment, instead of prices, I saw names scrolling past. Hundreds of them, thousands. Then it snapped back to normal. "That'll be free," Emily said. "Free? We don't charge customers who don't leave." A chill ran down my spine. "I will be leaving," I said quickly. She smiled again. So did they. I glanced around. That's when I noticed the customers. They were sitting silently at the tables, dozens of them, staring into empty cups. I hadn't heard them come in. I hadn't noticed them at all. Men, women, teenagers, elderly, all perfectly still, all pale. None of them were breathing. "Who are they?" I whispered. "Regulars," Emily said. "Late night ones." One of the customers turned his head toward me, his neck bent at an impossible angle. "Don't drink it," he whispered. Emily slammed her hand on the counter. The sound echoed like a gunshot. "No talking!" she screamed. The lights flickered. Every customer turned toward me at once. Their eyes were wrong, cloudy, milky, dead. Emily leaned closer. I could smell stale coffee on her breath. "You broke down here for a reason," she said softly. "Everyone does." "What reason?" I asked, backing away. She lifted her sleeve. Her arm was covered in burn marks. old coffee burns, layered on top of each other. I work the night shift, she said, just like you're visiting one. The espresso machine started by itself. Steam hissed violently. I fell asleep, Emily continued. Just once. Images flooded my mind. Not memories, but hers. Emily collapsing behind the counter. A fire. Smoke filling the store. Customers pounding on locked doors. I didn't wake up, she said. The customers began standing. Slowly, joints cracking like old wood. They never left, she whispered. Neither did I. I turned and ran. The doors wouldn't open. Hands grabbed my arms. Ice-cold fingers dug into my skin. Stay, they murmured. Stay. No, I screamed, kicking wildly. The lights went out. Then, I was on the road, lying in the rain. My car headlights were on. The engine was running. The Starbucks was gone. No building, no parking lot, just an empty field. I drove home shaking. The next morning I searched online. Nothing. But buried deep in a local forum, I found a single post from 2004. Did anyone else remember the Starbucks fire near Old Marsh Road? All staff and customers died. The building was demolished, but people still claim they stopped there late at night. Attached was a photo, a young barista behind the counter. Her name tag read, Emily. I never drive that road again. But sometimes at 1:36 a.m., my phone lights up. Unknown location. One notification. Your order is ready. Story 3, the night shift camera footage. The Starbucks was never supposed to be open past midnight. That's what made the security footage so disturbing. I didn't see it by accident. I was forced to watch it. I worked as a night security contractor, hired to review footage from stores that experienced break-ins, vandalism, or unusual incidents. Most nights were boring. Drunk customers, raccoons knocking over trash cans, homeless people sleeping near the doors. But this file was marked differently. Case file 0471-N. Status, restricted store. Confidential. No location listed. That alone was strange. The footage began at 11:58 p.m. The store lights were dimmed, chairs stacked, cleaning supplies visible, everything normal. One employee remained. Name, Sarah Collins, age, 24. Shift closing manager. Sarah moved behind the counter, wiping surfaces, humming softly. She looked tired but calm. At 12:02 a.m., she locked the front door and tested it twice. She was alone. At 12:07 a.m., the first anomaly occurred. The espresso machine turned on, by itself. Sarah froze, staring at it. She laughed nervously and walked over, switching it off. She checked the power panel. Everything normal. At 12:11 a.m., the back door sensor triggered. Sarah frowned, picked up her radio, and walked toward the hallway leading to storage. The hallway camera cut to static. When it came back online, Sarah was standing still, right in the center of the hallway, not moving, not blinking. She stood there for 3 minutes. Then she spoke. I know you're still here. Her voice echoed unnaturally through the empty corridor. There was no response. She turned slowly toward the camera and smiled. The smile wasn't hers. It stretched too wide, jaw unhinging slightly, as if something inside her was trying to wear her face correctly, and failing. At 12:19 a.m., the front door unlocked. From the inside, a man walked in. The footage glitched, but I could still see him clearly enough to feel sick. He had no shadow. Sarah greeted him cheerfully. Welcome back, she said. Same order? The man nodded. They spoke, but the audio warped. Words overlapping, voices echoing out of sync. Subtitles auto-generated by the system flashed random phrases. Stay brewed, too long, closing, never ends. More customers arrived. 3, 5, 7. None of them cast reflections in the glass. The store filled silently. No chairs were unstacked. No cups were raised. They just stood there, watching Sarah. At 12:44 a.m., Sarah's demeanor changed. Her shoulders slumped. Her smile trembled. She looked around confused. "Why are you still here?" she whispered. One of the customers stepped forward. His face flickered, changing ages rapidly. Child, adult, elderly, corpse. "We never left," he said. The lights shut off. Night vision engaged automatically. That's when things became unbearable. Every customer moved at once, twitching, jerking unnaturally towards Sarah. They surrounded the counter. Hands reached out, not grabbing, pressing against her chest, her arms, her face. The audio spiked with whispers layered over each other. "Serve us. Stay awake. Don't close," Sarah screamed. The espresso machine screamed louder. Steam filled the room. I had to pause the footage. My hands were shaking, but it got worse. When I resumed, Sarah was alone again, kneeling on the floor, shaking violently. Her uniform was soaked with sweat and something darker. Blood. Burn marks covered her arms and neck. At 1:03 a.m., she looked directly into the camera. "I didn't close," she sobbed. "I swear I didn't close." She crawled behind the counter. The customers reappeared. This time their faces were clear. They were burned, skin melted, eyes fused shut, mouths frozen mid-scream. Victims of a fire. One by one they leaned closer. "Sarah, you left us," they whispered. At 1:11 a.m., Sarah was dragged out of frame. The hallway camera turned on again. It showed her being pulled backward, limbs bent the wrong way, into total darkness. Her screams cut off abruptly. At 1:13 a.m., total silence. The store reset itself. Lights back on, chairs stacked, no blood, no damage. At 6 a.m., morning staff arrived. They found nothing. No Sarah, no signs of struggle, just a single cup on the counter, black coffee, still hot. The file ended there. I sat frozen, staring at the screen. Then my system alerted me. Live feed detected another camera came online automatically. A Starbucks, open, empty. The timestamp read 2:47 a.m. A figure stood behind the counter, wearing a green apron. She looked up. It was Sarah. Her eyes were black. Her mouth moved silently. The subtitles appeared. "We're open late." The feed cut. The case file closed itself. I reported it. The next day I was fired. They told me the footage never existed. But last week I passed a Starbucks on the highway. Lights on, no cars, middle of nowhere. The sign said open 24 hours. I didn't stop, because in the window, behind the counter, someone was smiling at the camera, waiting for the next night shift.